Welcome back to the Muskegon channel. I'm Gaberielle Butterfield, and today I'm talking with the fire marshal here and the deputy chief. How are you guys?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Today we are in the Norton Shores Fire Department, Fire Station number 3, and we are going to be talking about fire safety, specifically Christmas trees and lights.
Yep.
Who wants to start off on our fire safety today?
Well, I think I probably could. This time of the year, everybody wants to be very festive, and they want to, they want to put up their lights, and want to put up their Christmas trees. And there's a lot of lack of thought, or really they don't recognize the importance of doing it safely. And I think some of the things that we're able to talk about today are how to do that and enjoy your Christmas so that it's not dangerous and you don't lose everything. Certainly, we do not like going to structure fires in the middle of the holiday season. It's tragic to have it at any time, but certainly to have it during the holidays is even much more tragic. And really, it starts with a few simple things. Obviously, decorations are one of the things that people kind of take for granted. The lights that you use to put on a Christmas tree, or even outside on your house, they recommend not putting any more than 3 strands together. And there's a reason for that. It's because of the lightweight wiring that they use. The more strands you put together, the more electricity that has to be drawn through there. And there's a resistance in there, and once that resistance meets a certain amount, it heats up, and it can actually burn those lights. So they recommend only doing 3, no more than 3 on a specific train like that.
So now when we are putting them along our house, or even wrapping them around the tree, and we have our 3 strands, and we hook that into the wall, or we hook it into an extension cord, are we able to then hook another set of 3 strands onto an extension cord, or is that going to be too much?
I'm going to jump in right here if you don't mind, Joe. When you're plugging multiple things like that, make sure you're using a power strip. If you can't go directly to the wall, don't use an extension cord.
Okay.
Power strips have breakers built into them, so if you overload it, that'll become the thing that shuts off, so you don't start a fire.
Circuits.
Correct.
Exactly. So use power strips wherever possible.
And to answer that question, so you have a power strip that maybe has 6 different outlets on it. If you have a strand of 3 that's plugged into one spot, you could do another 3 into another spot. That's okay to do that.
Okay.
Each individual plug on that power strip, you could have up to 3 on each one of those. That's safe enough to do.
All right. Learn something new, hopefully.
So some of the other decorations that we worry about specifically in the Christmas time are candles. People love candles, and many of the older generation don't know anything other than open flame candles.
Yes.
And there's still a very huge amount of popularity with open fragrant style candles. You want to have pine tree or that kind of stuff. Open flame candles are very, very dangerous if they're not used appropriately. Whenever you're using an open flame candle, you want to make sure that it is clearly no more than at least 12 inches away from anything that is flammable. Never leave them unattended. Make sure they're not in a place where they're easily knocked over. If you have pets, make sure they're not in an area of travel where your pets would go, so that they could potentially cause any issues. And wherever possible, use battery operated or plug-in type lights instead, because that way you remove that open flame completely from that. So candles they result in about 36% of the annual holiday, year-round, whether it's Halloween or Easter or anything like that. 36% of the decoration-related fires are because of candles.
And do you see that when they're putting them in centerpieces, or when they're putting them into a decoration or a set of some sort, or is that just in general?
I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. It's if they put them in a centerpiece, maybe they have too much around the centerpiece, especially the homemade ones that you see. But setting that centerpiece near other flammable things, the centerpiece itself might be completely okay, but setting it around something else and not giving that at least 12-inch clearance around that is where people run into trouble.
In this time of year when you have centerpieces, a lot of times they'll use maybe live burls from the tree. Again, those are just an issue that can come up because it's a live thing. It's very combustible, and we never want that flame. And as the deputy chief was speaking, you got to think beyond candles. Although candles are the #1 cause of it, anything, portable heaters that are going to be near a Christmas tree, at least 12 inches, maybe, hopefully even more, fireplaces, because now we've introduced a tree into a room, and maybe furniture now is going to become a play, because you're going to squeeze another thing into your room. Are you blocking an exit path? You're going to get it too close to things you normally wouldn't think about. So, at least 12 inches from anything that produces heat.
And so when you're talking about our Christmas trees, whether it be fake or real, what do you recommend for safety around our Christmas tree specifically?
Again, 12 inches, and then whatever you put on your tree, make sure it's non-flammable, make sure it's fire resistant. All the decorations should be meeting that standard. But, people make homemade things they put on the tree too. You have kids, I'm sure. School brings home things like that. Be very cognizant that those things can burn. Nobody goes with the intention of putting anything that can hurt you on there. But again, heat sources, 12 inches. If you have a live tree, make sure it's watered, because a dry tree is a dangerous tree. And keeping it hydrated will reduce that risk of any exposure.
At least once a day.
At least once a day, if you can.
Always keep
it hydrated.
And how do we prevent that from a fake tree? How can we make sure that our fake tree isn't going to be combustible and start a fire?
Fake trees, when you buy those, they should be meeting the UL standards. So look for the UL label. That'll go through all the fire-resistant things that's required. Somewhere on the box, somewhere on the tree, there should be a tag that talks about that. And also, the same thing would go with the decorations. Look at those things as you buy them. There should be some flammable-resistant thing.
There's a lot of pre-lit Christmas trees out there as
like
well.
We were talking earlier.
There are several different ways to connect those. They have through the trunk style now where it all connects together. Anytime you have a connection, make sure that connection is completely closed. Make sure that there's not any open wiring. Make sure there's no fraying or breaks in those connections, because that's very important. Those things can cause shorts, which then can cause fires.
All right. And you were talking too about other decorations in the fire safety. Could you touch on a little bit more on that?
Sure. We talked about general electrical overload. We talked about no more than 3 strands, but do not overload your individual circuits in your house as well. We talked about using a power outlet or an outlet strip.
Yeah.
That has a breaker on it, but you can still put a lot of current through there, and you can overload those. Extension cords, we talked about that. Those are hate extension cords.
Fire marshal's nightmare.
And people love to use extension cords because depending on how a house was developed, you don't necessarily have outlets where you want to be able to plug your Christmas tree in. So avoid using any type of extension cords as you possibly can. And then, as far as the decorations themselves, ironically, 20% of the decoration-related fires over the entire year happen in December. So we are right now where we're at is our most crucial point to make sure we're doing the right things with decoration.
Back to where the deputy chief was talking about extension cords. Extension cords are really meant for temporary use. So if you're going to plug in a vacuum, if you're going to plug in something that you're going to use and take off, that's really where an extension cord comes in. Not to leave plugged in over the long term, not under a rug, not things like that, because you're going to put it in there, maybe you've got to pass through that area, you'll cover them up. That, again, those are all signs of something can overheat. And, especially those little thin brown ones, those are, they're out there, they're cheap, a lot of people buy them, but they're so easy to overload. And that'll become the weak link, and that'll melt before the circuit breaker will break. So that's why power strips are so important.
All right. Is there anything else that we need to know going into this Christmas season, Christmas being so close? Is there anything that we can do other than what we've touched on to be safe?
On top of all that, smoke alarms. Make sure you got a working smoke alarm in every bedroom, outside your bedroom, on every level.
And we do need to change the batteries in those how every so often?
Twice a year.
Twice a year?
We usually recommend doing it when you change your clocks as a reminder.
And they go bad every 10 years, right?
The sensors on the inside have a life of about 10 years. So it's time to replace them after 10 years. Even if the batteries are still okay in them, replace the smoke alarm itself.
And we were talking to, we are going to do another segment, and we're going to touch on this and the carbon monoxide in a later one too, but that's definitely something that we need to make sure everyone is aware of with the fires and the the different heaters and things, especially while they have that Christmas tree up and they want to stay warm.
Without getting into a lot of detail on the CO alarms, make sure you got one in your room.
Yep, at least one.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
too, for joining me today. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you catch another safety segment here on the Muskegon channel.